Hi, I'm Linda Rourke. Welcome to GoGa Studios. Today we're talking salt, but not just any kind of salt. I'm here with Dr. Peter Prociak. Salt, we keep it in our diets, we have it, but we're not using the right salt. And why is that, Peter?
That is very correct. What we're looking at here is a chunk of salt that comes from the Himalayas.
And we do see these out in natural food stores. I'm familiar with these.
Yeah, and they look great, but they're really important for our health. This stuff has been sitting in the earth for 300 million years. It's accumulated all of the trace elements of the earth. And salt and chloride and the macronutrients or macrominerals as well.
But what do you mean by that, the macrominerals?
Well, there's minerals that we need more of, like sodium, potassium, zinc, selenium, and so on. And then there's the micro elements, which we need very little of, trace amounts, zirconium, titanium, and so on. And this is exactly pretty much what we have in our bodies, in roughly the same amounts. We have most of the elements of the whole periodic table in us, some in more amounts, some in less.
So how do we incorporate this?
This is mimicked, or this is actually in us. What we're looking at is a really important part of us. And to take this in on a daily basis, you're satisfying your body's need for all of these essential nutrients.
But how does the lamp work? So we put this in our house. It
All
looks
right.
kind of cool. People will
nice.
talk about it. But how does it work?
Well, have you ever been to the ocean? You like going to the ocean.
Who doesn't? It's phenomenal.
And you feel relaxed at the ocean. You feel calm. Your air passages are more clear. You sleep better.
My kids don't bug me as much.
Your kids don't bug you as much. And the reason for that is very much the same as why we do this. When we have all of these minerals in this block, and we put a heat source, basically the light bulb makes it look nice, but it serves as a heat source. So it warms this thing up, which increases the molecular motion, and it releases ions.
Okay, now that's hard for people to understand and comprehend. So ions are coming out of this, but
Right.
what is that doing for us?
Well, lots of negative ions, and they're not negative in the sense that they're negative, they're negatively charged. And there's probably in a block like this, there may be a radius 1 or 2 feet where the negative ion concentration is quite high.
So if you're sitting close to it, you would
Right. So
get
this is
something from that.
absolutely, because those negative ions will bind and cause positive ions to clump together. Now, it so happens that pollutants, toxins, heavy metals,
Everything we can get around us throughout the day.
exactly, metabolic wastes, are all positively charged. So when we expose ourselves to a big pile of, or concentrated negative ions, they neutralize all of these toxins. So when we sit by the ocean, this vast reservoir of negative ion generation.
But if we can't get to the ocean, we can
Well-
bring some of these into our home.
Exactly.
Now you can get the salt into your system in other ways too, and a lot of us do throw bath salts into our bath. Makes us feel good, but now maybe we should look for a different type of bath salt by using the Himalayan salt.
Well, again, we want to mimic what our body needs and what our body is composed of as much as possible. And that's why, again, going to the ocean is a great, really easy to understand reason why this stuff is important. Instinctively, millions of people are drawn to the ocean, and most of the world's population lives by the ocean because it naturally, this healing magnet pulls us there. And the reason is these negative ions. When we bathe in seawater, toxins are pulled out of our body, skin ailments are cleared, we feel great. People pay to go to salt baths. There's healing spas all over the Dead Sea. in saltwater springs inland. There's always a health spa connected to it. And the reason is it's really good for you.
So there is a way to bring this into our home.
Exactly. So, something like this, where it's ground up and relatively easy to dissolve. Again, it has all the elements that we have in our body, and in an average sized tub, say 25 or 30 gallons, 1 or 2 cups of that will make a nice salty solution, and it will invigorate you. You lie in that, you will feel invigorated. You will start to get thirsty because your metabolism is aroused. Your circulation is aroused. You're expelling toxins, and it's not just the warmth of the bath.
It's what the salt's doing for you.
It's what the salt.
And how long would you sit in that bath?
25 or 30 minutes. And it's like going into the ocean. It's like having a little private session at the beach.
You put on the music and make it sound like the ocean.
Exactly.
Does it dry your skin out though?
It shouldn't. Some people go to the ocean, they don't like it. Most people, when they go to the ocean, they feel their skin gets softer, clearer, more supple. The thing that's damaging about going to the ocean is the sun more than the salt water.
But don't sit there with a glass of wine and do this.
Right, or the chocolate cake.
Yeah,
or,
even though it sounds nice, but
right.
No, this is to make your body feel good, and you don't
Right.
want to counteract that with anything.
It's a very healthy thing to do.
Now you can also ingest it.
Absolutely. When you've prepared this Soleil,
So that's what this is here. Explain what you've done.
all right. What a Soleil is basically a 100% saturated solution of these Himalayan salt crystals.
And you've taken chunks like this and just put it in with some water.
And I just put it in with water, and you want to make sure you have a decent amount of crystals in the jar, and definitely the level of the water should be higher than the level of the crystals. You let that sit for 24 hours.
It looks pretty.
It does, and if you look at it, because we just did it a little while ago, you look at it carefully, you'll see all this activity, which is the salt crystals dissolving and filling that water with all of these wonderful minerals.
So how long would you leave this?
24 hours. And during that time, the solution will become saturated, and saturation means that it's holding the most amount of minerals it possibly can. As it dissolves, you want to keep replacing the salt so the level of the salt stays more or less constant, and that makes sure that the solution is fully saturated.
And that's what you want, that saturation in
You
the
want
water.
that saturation.
And then what do you do with this?
You take a teaspoon, 1 teaspoon of that, first thing in the morning.
Oh, come on.
First thing
that would
in
be
the-
a wake-up call. It would be like tasting the ocean?
Well, not quite, because you're not just going to take the teaspoon
Okay,
straight.
thank
You're going
goodness.
to put that in a fairly tall glass of water, but you should have that first thing in the morning.
Now, how much of this do we need to drink then in a day? I mean, a teaspoon in a glass, is that all the salt we need?
It's about half of what we really need. And I wouldn't take any more than 1 teaspoon a day, because that leaves enough room for the food you want to add, or the salt you want to add to your food. Now, using this salt, which you had a little taste, and tell us about the taste.
Yeah, let's do that again. Let's try this, because it does taste significantly different. It's got a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
It's smooth.
Yeah.
It tastes phenomenal. So this on your food, no problem.
No problem, and you need much, much less of this to be salt satisfied. Regular sodium chloride is not really satisfying because it's only a very small part of what salt should be and what our bodies wants. So if you're not giving your body what it really needs, you're kind of giving it a bit of what it needs. It's going to keep craving more and more until it gets what it needs.
That would taste so good as popcorn.
So this gives you everything that you need. And so you're going to naturally use much less salt. Doctors tell us that we need somewhere between 3 and 5 grams a day. A salt-restricted diet, so-called salt-restricted diet, might be as little as 2 grams a day. And everybody's complaining about, there's no taste in my food with 2 grams a day. What we probably really need is 2/10 of 1 gram, but of the right salt.
And I was just going to say that. I mean, this is a big difference as far as the flavor that it can add.
Right, so you're going to use a fraction of this to get a much better flavor. So you're doing all kinds of good things for your body. You're not salt overloading yourself. You're not putting a lot of stress on your kidneys. You're not putting a lot of stress on your natural fluid balance by having all this extra salt on board. You're enjoying your food much more, and you're satisfying the mineral need of your body in a really pleasurable way.
So drink some, eat some, soak in some, and have a lamp in your house, and you're going to help detoxify your system.